Greetings, family. Hello. How are you all doing today? Well, nah, I'm not searching for something to say. I'm just doing a pause. Anyway, um, I'm your host, Camcast. Welcome to Camcast. I'm your host, Cam. Welcome to another episode of Camcast today. Thank you, of course, to any returning viewers that we have in our audience or in our family, or of course, our family. And any newer visitors, I'm always welcome to you all to tune in. It's always great to speak with you all. And yeah, so today is going to be a pretty good day for a great video. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too. Other than that, let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's go ahead and get to what you all came to see. So, yeah, as you can see, I'm kind of, well, you probably can't really tell, but I'm kind of in a new, well, I wouldn't say a new setting, but it's kind of like a new little area or whatnot. I can't really tell how great the lighting is, so bear with me on that one. I got a little bit of natural light, and as about as many lights as I can have on. So yeah, but I hope the lighting, of course, is going to improve over time, and we'll get there. Just stick with me. So without further ado, let's basically get into today's topics. So of course, we're going to start off for all you new viewers and new people that are tuning in to our family. We start out with a style segment. So on our first segment, we're gonna basically talk rundown of the outfit, of course, and also if you all have any suggestions or requests or anything, you can also leave your comments below, and we can see what can be done. So yeah, so today, of course, it's kind of in the spring area, so I decided to go ahead and throw on some spring accents. Spring happens to be actually one of my favorite seasons of the year, so I do look forward to this time of the year. Weather's changing, this, that, and the third. That's not really my favorite part, but the unpredictable weather is kind of something that I find quite interesting. As you know, you have to basically adjust to it, this, that, and the third. To some people, of course, that can come across as a little irritating and annoying, and I understand. But yeah, so today I have on the brown suit. Went ahead and put on the purple bow tie with some of the blue accents that also match the blue pocket square that I have over here with a little bit of something on it. And in addition to that, I also have some purple suspenders to also go with that purple bow tie. And of course, I have on the white fresh shirt underneath, or the fresh white shirt, whichever one you prefer. We still kind of getting a little lingo on that one, but I'm gonna get that tick for tack for everybody. In addition to that, we have on some dark gray socks. It's one of actually my favorite type of socks to wear, dark gray or black from time to time with some patterns on it. And I'd say last but not least, we have on some, I believe, cognac shoes, light brown cognac monk strap Oxfords. And I will also try to leave the description, or leave in the description below, some of the designers to some of these things in case y'all would like to check them out. So yeah, so today, of course, I'm gonna be probably checking in with my trusty sidekick today, which is also it's gonna be a part of the topics, or on the topic list that we discussed today. We have a few topics to discuss today that I would like to speak on, so stay tuned. So our next topic is gonna be about, we're gonna piggyback off of the last video that we kind of spoke on, where we talked a little bit about a little bit of Greek life, if you will. So I recently kind of attended a forum where you had a multitude of speakers, and among those speakers was a young man about, I couldn't really tell if he was older or younger than me, maybe same age, who knows. Didn't really have his bio in there, but anyway, he um, gave out a good message, and it wasn't necessarily about this. It was just in general, kind of about his life, his transformation from childhood to adulthood, and just basically allowing us to get an insight on his journey. So, with that being said, I found it extremely inspiring. And one thing that he mentioned was basically coming into this, he had no idea about it. He didn't find out about it, of course, until it was introduced to him whenever he got into college. And so he said that he had lots of regrets from it, which was completely understandable. Most people may not be, I guess, open to hearing the cons that can come with it, but he said at this point, in some cases, he would be opposed to taking certain risks, especially with things that are taking place right now. However, in that scenario, he thought about what got him to the place that he was in, or put him in position, in other words. So he said, let's go for it and see what happens. So he did that, and he said he's basically been rewarded for it ever since. So because of his decision to continue and go into that journey, it was actually the reason why he was able to be before us or speaking before us then, basically just because apparently his chapter or his group, and of course they do provide plenty of scholarship opportunities and opportunities basically to just, whether it be study abroad, go back to school, or things like that. And now I don't know how much they contributed. Of course, that wasn't something that he let us in on, and I wouldn't expect them to. But they put together a fund to be able to afford for him to be able to travel around and go basically tell his story and speak and inspire other people. So, and that's a variety of audiences, if you will. It can be from, if so, CEOs at a company, or maybe board meetings, to colleges, college students, maybe even high school students, teachers, people in the education department. And the speakers that were there were from several different industries, of whether it be food, clothing, retail, education, and business insiders, or people just basically in business. And he just happened to fall into one of those categories. And so where his position is right now, I don't know, but he said that he was grateful and thankful to them for allowing him to basically putting him where he was. Of course, he had to do a lot of the lead work, but they supported him and provided him the proper support that he needed in order to be to where he was. So on that note, I'm also going to transition into the fact that those are some very valuable things, as I've heard about that plenty of times. They have many different scholarships that they offer. Sometimes they advertise these to the public, and sometimes only inside members are only aware of them. But the one thing for certain is the benefits. You get a decent number of benefits while you're on campus, but the benefits don't stop unless you stop once you graduate and now you're off campus, as they also have alumni chapters. And basically on campus, of course, the biggest thing is that I don't really consider it hype, but it can be considered hype. I see a lot of people kind of saying that now, is that I know normally people really only want to hear about you basically, even if you might be 50 or 60 years old. They want to know that, oh, okay, so you did it here, and that's what interests them. So I don't really have much of a comment on that. In my opinion, well, I kind of do have a comment on it. The way I kind of look at it is, family is family, fellowship is fellowship. Normally, if a person wants to achieve, basically, which is a big word, those who know what I mean. If a person wants to achieve, they want to achieve. Sometimes you might only be able to get into that at a certain point in life. So I don't think that it should be kind of viewed or looked down upon just because it may have not been at a certain point. People have all kinds of reasons for why. And honestly, I think even more questions should be posed about that, but not about the fact that the concern of people, but it's, it's, as I mentioned before, I don't know if I mentioned this in my last video, but it's not cheap. But anyway, aside from the cost, um, it's a life commitment. It's a life change. It's something for not only just you and yourself, but your family as well, and those around you, those in your circle, those surrounding you and supporting you. Because once you're in it, now they're in it. So that's how that operates. So I mean, yeah. So for anybody that basically feels that way, I'm not saying that this is a shot, but y'all should consider that. But aside from that, yes, the on-campus experience is very nice. It adds to your experience. I remember myself when I was in school, they would constantly motivate us to get involved in certain things to enhance our experience. So I do remember that. I remember how they would do like the shows around maybe like the unions. I'm sure that every school has one. I'm pretty sure every school has one. You would, represent on game day, especially homecoming. That's the one that almost everybody looks forward to. So, and of course, as what they like to refer to as Nelia or paraphernalia, it's a major deal on campus. So, of course, that and a lot of other festivities that you get to enjoy, the camaraderie that you get to build while you're on campus. It's a great deal. But aside from basically the Greek enhancements of being on a campus or college campus, let's talk about the other things. So one thing I noticed about being up there when I first got in there, I noticed how they had like a lot of, you would say, commercial brand name places to eat that, would set up like a vendor at the school, and you could go there and you could either spend your own money or the money that was not necessarily provided for you, but your meal plan, I believe you called it, at like in the unions and in the certain areas at the school, because every restaurant might have not been in the union, it might have been in other places. So I thought that was extremely interesting, and I thought about how, wow, it's almost like a separate world inside the world, because technically, I noticed we even started rocking our own trends that may have not been the same trends from the ones you might have saw on television or maybe in high school or something like that. We had our own way of doing things. I would hear students or fellow students talk about how what the trends might have been at other universities that they were aware of, because maybe friends that are classmates that they might have had back in high school, how they might have went to those other universities, maybe of course for different reasons, like specialties, this and that, certain programs that of course you wish to seek a career in. So, and they would do that. So when I heard about that, I was like, wow, this is like, it's like a separate world. So it really is truly, honestly, getting you prepared for the world. So I thought that was always interesting. And of course, what would you call it? Primary school, or not necessarily primary school, but your main education, your beginning education, it also has a hand in that. But I just noticed how like the differences between, they would always use real world scenarios, I guess, in high school and middle school as well. But it's like a paradigm shift between being there and not expected to have a degree or walk out with a degree, and just basically living one way as opposed to being in a college classroom and manifesting basically a degree to saying, okay, well, if your life is like this might be how things are on the other side. So nothing truly, specifically, but of course, then you might see yourself like in a classroom where you're getting lots of speakers from, it might, depending on the school that you go to, it might even be from, could be entertainers, uh, company owners, CEOs, CAOs, things like that might come and speak to you simply because, not just because they were asked to, but you might even find that they were alumni. They might have been in the same, literally the same seat as you're in, literally. They might have actually sat in that chair that you're at, wrote on that desk or on a paper, or took a test sitting where you're sitting at right now. So that's what you call alums, or notable alums, that is. So yeah, I thought that was always interesting. And of course, like I said, high school, I do believe that they did like sell certain things, like, but I think it also depends like on the school you go to. I know, for instance, like certain sports teams are, of course, for certain like fundraisers, and like maybe if a group of people, like, I guess the book club, or maybe robotics or whatnot, maybe they were trying to go on a trip, so they would maybe sell, I think it's normally like pizza. I think that's probably the most convenient thing. It just comes in its boxes. It's very simple to just cut a slice or two, sell to students. So yeah, and of course sports teams would of course use that to raise money, basically for uniforms and other types of things. Maybe transportation, equipment, stuff like that. So they also had that as well, and it kind of prepares you a little bit. But those are kind of like some of the different, like, I guess, viewpoints and perspectives that the differences can offer you. So that was that. And of course, also, as I mentioned, how my little trusty sidekick was going to be a part of one of these topics. That next topic would include, of course, AI integration, which was probably the backbone of the forum that I attended. So, AI integration. Yep. Y'all can leave in the comments below any ways that you were constantly seeing AI being integrated or used in real world scenarios. I know in certain places, I might not even, if I'm giving an order or something, I may or may not even really talk to somebody. I'm just talking to a computer. Even if you order on the phone sometimes, usually, and sometimes it might be a test run, so the next week you call, you might actually get a person. But yeah, I am trying to get a bit more tech savvy, so I'm using and finding different kinds of ways of using AI in a lot of the things that I do, especially including this in my work, in my everyday life. I try not to depend on it too much, because it can't ever be completely trusted. But, and I'm not saying that to knock it or anything like that, but even there, I can't tell you how many, I guess, we call them PDs, but like professional developments, or any trainings, let's go with that, any trainings that I've been to, or programs where they have tried to either showcase their data or showcase their work, or project their results onto a screen with videos and other uses, and there's usually always something wrong with either the sound or the video not playing itself. And they would either take out about 15 to 20 minutes of everyone's time to basically try to provide what would you call it, tech support, try to figure out what the problem is to get it going, and provide other ways of diversion to entertain the audience. Or even after it, just if that didn't even work and they couldn't find a solution, they would just avoid it altogether and just try to explain as best as possible what the video was supposed to be showing. So that always tells me right there, those are some, and like I said, everything has problems, everything has kinks. So I mean, that's not the reason why I don't use it, of course. It's just make sure that whatever you're going to use it for, that you're using it for proper reasons and not as a substitute completely, because if that doesn't work, you need to make sure you have a plan B, because in those cases when you don't have one, you don't want it to where it throws everything off, because now it makes it seem like you were unprepared and now you have a disinterested or uninterested audience that you're speaking to. So good luck with that, and that's not what you want. But yeah, so I personally, I don't think I've ever been in that kind of situation myself before. Normally, I'm using it as, or being as least dependent on it as possible. So therefore, and I'll like try it maybe 5 or 6 times before I actually try to project it in front of others. So, and I think if I ever had a technical difficulty, as we like to call it, I recognize it as, it might have been for about maybe 5 or 10 minutes, if that. And then after that, the show got back on the road. It's a lot of checking this box, checking these documents, these downloads, maybe exiting out a few things, because sometimes a system can get backed up just because you have too many things open. And retry it, re-download it, maybe even they have an option to, of course, where you can eject the USB, and then of course to kind of place it back in and try to basically re-download it or re-upload it, if you will, and open it so that you can show it to everybody. And so, I mean, I'm not trying to give y'all an AI lesson on it, but I'm saying usually that's kind of the thing that I typically do. So, and it's typically not the bulk of my presentation, but it can definitely be used. And yeah, so, but if y'all would like to share maybe any, like I said, style tips, insights on Greek life, maybe you can even shout out any ones that you might be a part of. And I also welcome all perspectives on it, or of course any ways that you would like to teach about, or tell us about how you might use AI each and every day. And of course, just about every place you go to ask you to use like a specific app or whatever that the place might have. That's another way it's being integrated, which actually kind of frightens me a little bit. It is more convenient, but it's like, okay, you pull up, they don't even ask you for your order. Next thing you know, you give them a number, if that, and then after that, you're done. So it's convenient, but is it gonna cost? And maybe when I say cost, I'm not talking about financially. I'm talking, what are we gonna lose from that? So, but of course, they enjoy it. I enjoy it. I'm sure many of you enjoy it. So, yeah. But I'm not gonna hold you guys any longer. I think this actually might have been one of the longest videos that I've done. So, yeah. But if you all have any questions or concerns for me, please let me know. You can post them in the comments. Let's talk about it. And I will catch you on the next one. Please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all on the next video. So long for now from Camcast. Peace.